What's good? We're here to talk modes for the upcoming NBA 2K17. I've been working hard trying to get this information out in every single way, shape, and form. Let's get to it. What's good, everybody? This is Brian Mazik, aka Franchise Play, and I apologize to my exclusive YouTube audience who has really not really been hearing anything from me in regards to NBA 2K17 and my community event trip outside of the video I posted with the hilarious moments on that. They were quite hilarious. But as far as the game itself, I've been posting my hands-on impressions on Forbes in written format. But I did want to double back somewhat and come back and hit my people who really kind of just check for me on YouTube, which I always encourage you guys to follow me on Twitter and to check out the articles on Forbes. But I understand everybody has different ways of taking in or consuming news. So first and foremost, I did a 4-part series. By the time you actually see this, all 4 parts will actually probably already be published. But when you go over something, just in front of a camera as opposed to having it written, there are some things here and there that can kind of seep in that maybe you didn't think of when you were writing, and vice versa. I started off with gameplay on my one of four, on my 4-part series. Then I went into modes and stayed with modes a little bit in the 3rd part. And then the last part, I just talked about renders and ratings, which was kind of like to tie up everything at the end. But I'm going to do a little bit different on YouTube. I'm going to start off talking about modes, and I'm going to do that in 2 different videos. And then I'm going to go to gameplay because I'm hoping to have some actually gameplay footage that I can show at the same time while I talk about that. So that's what I'm going to do. And then the last thing I'm going to do is ratings and renders or whatever, because at that point, we should probably have, if not all of the ratings, at least a good number of them should be already out in our hands. So hopefully we'll have all 4 of these videos done by, I would say, no later than Tuesday or Wednesday. You feel me? Let's get it. I'm going to talk about MyTeam, Pro-Am, MyPark, MyGM, MyLeague, and the creation options, because everybody knows I'm deep into that. I'm deep into that game. All right, so first of all, they have NBA Blacktop has come back. So I don't know, a lot of people might remember back in the day you could play on Blacktop and there were some actual real venues. And if you remember, part of my wish list, I had, wanting to actually get back to those real venues. Getting a little bit of that, because there's a park outside of Seattle's Kingdom, there's a park in Harlem, there's some other places. They don't really give you as much fanfare around these real life parks as they used to, but they are in there. Also, when you're in the Blacktop, and you guys may have seen a couple glimpses of this, there's actually a crowd around. I mean, that not like around, like standing around the court. There's like, stands for the crowd to sit in. So it looks and feels like some Rucker Park type stuff, even though it's not actually Rucker Park. When you're playing Blacktop, you can play 1-on-1, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, 5v5. When it first starts off, you get to choose between, so what is the game going to go up to? You can pick any players from any teams, with the exception of the Olympic squads, because unfortunately the Olympic teams, Team USA, the Dream Team, the Team Australia team, which I'm still trying to figure out why in the world do we just have Team Australia and Team USA. It blows my mind. And that's kind of crazy, but those teams, none of those players can be used in Blacktop. At least I don't think Team Australia can. I know Team USA and Dream Team can. But yeah, I was just kind of, you guys heard me. I was swearing by the fact that I knew they were going to have an Olympic mode, and it really doesn't look like that's the case unless they got something planned for post-launch. At any rate, when you're playing on Blacktop, you can play half court or full court. Like I said, you can determine what the game's going to go up to. You can even adjust stuff like wind conditions. It was crazy. We played a little quick Blacktop tournament at the community event. It was me and Fangs against, it was NC Native and Sub the Gamer, Shakedown, and J Fox. And then there was Red City Boy and and that Kid Cuda, right? So in the first round, me and Fangs beat Red City Boy and Cuda. It was a really good game. I had Melo, Fangs had Steph Curry, Red City Boy had, I believe, Kyrie, and I think Cuda had LeBron. So we beat them by 2. It was a real close game. I drained the 3 with Melo, like, give me that, boy, right at the end to win it. And then in the other game, Sub the Gamer and NC Native beat Shakedown and J Fox. So then in the finals, me and Fangs played Sub the Gamer and NC Native. It was a super tight game, but they did beat us by 2. Ended up me and Fangs, she and I got second place. So it was, it's whatever. But Blacktop is pretty fun. It's a good place to like kind of learn your different dribble moves, because you guys may or may not have heard the whole signature size up and all that kind of stuff. All that's gone. You can't do that anymore. So you have to kind of create your own dribbles. So you can still do all of those size ups and stuff, but it's not as easy as just holding the stick and slapping in one direction and then he's going to go ahead and do all of those moves. You got to actually go through the steps yourself, which I think is better, because it basically makes you have to have a little bit more skill to pull off those dribble moves. But I'll talk a little bit more about that once we actually get the gameplay, which will be in a different video. There's Play Now Online. It's still there. They added another tier. They didn't do a ton of this, but I liked it as it was last year, so I'm kind of cool with. I'm just happy really that they didn't take it out, because a lot of people, whenever they play online, really the only time they play online head to head is in MyTeam. But sometimes it's cool to play with the real teams online. You know what I mean? I kind of dig it. So I was glad to see Play Now Online coming back. Obviously, MyTeam is there, and it's still big. It's huge. But I'm going to tell you, before I get into anything else about MyTeam, one of the few things I was disappointed with when it comes to NBA 2K17 was the fact that there's no draft-like mode coming this year, or at least not at launch. Because you remember, Man 16's draft champions didn't come out with the game at launch either. So it was something that they added after the game was already out. And so I can't say 2K is not going to do that, but I'm be honest, I was actually shocked that they didn't do it for launch. To me, once you saw how successful Draft Champions was for Madden, that whole brand, it blew up. I voted it the best new mode to hit sports video games, period. So 2K has always been really good about seeing what works for another company and saying, hey, you know what, we're going to do something like that. We're going to put our own spin on it and whatever. So I got to believe that they probably tried to do it, but there was probably something wrong that prevented that from happening. So that's first and foremost, it's not there. But you still do have the customization of the logos, the jerseys, the arenas, all of that is still in. What they kind of are trying to parlay off as something like a draft mode is their MyTeam Blacktop. It's not. It's not really a draft mode. It's designed to be like a quick multiplayer 3v3 game, and you get to pick your players or whoever's going to play. But then at the end of the game, if you win, you get a spin on the draft board, and the draft board has different prizes on it. And there's some randomness in there. That in itself is cool, and I think that's a nice little mini game, but it's just not draft mode. So it is whatever. They removed Road to the Playoffs, and it's been replaced by something MyTeam Online. It's still tiered and everything, but it's not like as restrictive as I felt. Like Road to the Playoffs was like Road to Prison, because you just couldn't do what you wanted to do. I felt, you had, it made you play these just weird matchups. I ain't gonna say I didn't like it, but it just kind of, I don't know. I felt like it was missing something. So I'm really glad to see them approach that same concept in a different way. There's also many challenges that, you always had challenges before. You had to play a whole game, a half or whatever. Now there's many challenges that might only last a part of a quarter or a segment of the game. So I think that was good. MyTeam is basically they're gonna eliminate the dynamic ratings cards. because I think what they told us or what they were getting at is that the dynamic rating cards and moment cards are kind of too similar. And if you think about the concept, it kind of does make sense. So that's going to leave. Um, and what they're saying is their goal. The goal is to get the moment cards out within 2 hours after the player does whatever he does. So whatever player has whatever great game that generates a moments card, their goal, 2K's goal, is to have that card out within 2 hours. That is pretty ambitious. But I cannot really say anything about them for trying that. That is, a good thing to go ahead and try. I mean, people would love that, but it's cool. Now, as far as the gems or whatever the tiers in my team, you're gonna have bronze, silver, gold, sapphire, emerald, ruby, diamond, pink diamond, and then you got onyx cards, which are now going to be free agent cards. Free agent cards are basically going to give you a little bit of a temporary run with a specific type of player. So say, for instance, you get a Paul George free agent card. You're going to have him at his high rating or whatever for a limited amount of games. So once those games are over, that card won't be there anymore. So it's kind of like, almost like in MUT, when every week they give you away the rewards cards. You get to play with whatever card for a certain amount of time at its high level. Then after that, it goes down. Well, in my team, I believe it's just going to go away altogether. So I think it's kind of a similar concept. It's kind of like a trial card is what I like to refer to it as. NBA 2K17 is also introducing something called Dynamic Duo Boost to my team. So you got your Stephs and your Klay Thompsons, you got your, whatever, LeBron and Kyrie, whatever other duo you want to look at. And if you can get both of those cards, both of those players on the team together, it will enhance both players' ratings because they're playing together. It's kind of building on the chemistry thing, which is another thing that MUT did, especially when so if you got in MUT, if you have guys who play the same defensive scheme, then their ratings are enhanced, or they suppose this is like a better suited spot for them. And also in NHL Ultimate Team, if guys come from the same country or play on the same real team, same thing in FIFA Ultimate Team. So it's a chemistry thing that I think my team is trying to tap into with that approach. As usual, my team is going to be packed with content again, just stacked. But I'm not going to lie, it's going to be hurt by the fact that there's no draft-like mode. All right, let's talk a little bit about MyPark and Pro-Am. Now, these two modes, as everybody knows, is pretty similar, but they're a little bit different enough. Pro-Am is really like the backbone of NBA 2K's esports initiative. And that's what the whole thing is based on right now. So they are really doing a lot to try to make sure that this game is suitable for esports, because the competition has to be true to life, and it can't be any weird, funny stuff when you got people competing for this amount with the stakes that are out there for esports events. So they're doing everything they can to do that, but you can actually earn MyPark rep by playing Pro-Am, which I think only makes sense because it's still not professional basketball. So if one should affect the other is how I feel. So as far as the esports scene moving forward for them, the 2K is immediately launching somewhat of a qualifying state. From the time the game goes out, you'll be trying to level up to elite status. So you'll start off as an amateur and you level up to elite. The people who reach elite by whatever the cutoff date is, which I don't remember what that is, they're going to have an opportunity to qualify for NBA 2K17's All-Star Tournament. And that's going to take place in New Orleans, which is the site of the NBA's All-Star Game. And the winner will get $250,000 and tickets to the All-Star Game. So it's very similar to the Road to the Finals deal, but this one's just around the All-Star Game. Now, as far as MyPark, there's some really cool stuff came out, and we're going back to that wish list. In my wish list, I said, while you're in MyPark and you're waiting for a game, it'd be really awesome if you got an opportunity to shoot around, play other stuff while you're waiting on your game. And that's essentially what it feels like they've done. They got something called MyPark After Dark. Now this kind of broke by a leak, because Game Informer had this information. They posted an article, 89 things that we know about NBA 2K17. And they put some details about MyPark in that particular article, but they weren't supposed to say it yet. Well, luckily, my man, Steve Noah from Operation Sports, was able to grab a screenshot, which you see right there on the screen, and he was able to get, that information out before they removed it, when I guess 2K told them they weren't supposed to have it up. So basically, MyPark After Dark is going to have a DJ. You're going to be able to do dunk contests, 3-point shootouts, all I'm assuming while you're waiting on a game. That to me is like, oh my God, crazy. Because I mean, first of all, it's crazy anytime I see something that I suggested or something really close to what I suggested actually get a run. And because that's essentially what this feels like, because this looks a lot like what I said, what I wanted to see. And I'm certainly in no way salty about it, because it's cool to see when things like that go down. But yeah, presentation is turned like read Steve Noah's tweet there. It says into a party with complete with a DJ, special effects, and a crowd. That's crazy, just ridiculous. And also new on the MyPark scene is going to be a Mountain Dew 3X tournament. Locks you into one park until one team is left standing. I don't even know what that's about, but it sounds hot. And then you got new park specific badges. So we'll learn more about that down the road. But man, I'm not a big MyPark player, but I must admit that's pretty slick. Now, let's talk about MyGM and MyLeague playoff mode, which you guys know is my favorite, easily my favorite. They were the first modes we actually learned about. So if anybody forgot what it was, you get expansion up to 36 teams. You got dynamic expansion. So if you start your MyLeague with 30 teams, the league is going to expand dynamically. So maybe every 3 or 4 years, you see an expansion team break in. You can start at any point in the season. So on any given day, you can choose to start your journey with the records, stats, injuries, all of that set to whatever the current state of the NBA is. And then you just take over from there. So if the Bulls start off 20-30, for the first 50 games, and I say, you know what, I'm going to jump in for these last 32. I can jump in with everything set, however it is in real life. You can also start in the off season. So in this past off season, so if you want to redo drafts or free agency, whatever, you can do that. And you have the full customization, so you can rebrand, relocate, and realign all of the teams in the league, redo all the rosters, edit every player, realign the divisions. Just crazy, right? I was just done. So to be honest, I thought that was it. I was like, okay, my league's dope. It's even better than it was last year. They did this, they did that. It's even more. They got dynamic rule changes. So every offseason, the league's rules committee, they're going to meet, right? So obviously this is all fictitious, but it's dope anyway. And they're going to make decisions on which types of new rules are going to be implemented in your MyLeague. So they may change the shot clock, or I don't know if they can change the shot clock yet. That's one thing I really need to check on. They may change how many seconds you have before you have to get it over half court, how many fouls it is to foul out of a game. All of these different things can be changed. And it's almost somewhat random, which I kind of dig in one way. But I know a lot of people want absolute control. So it's good that you can set all the rule changes yourself, or you can turn this whole thing off altogether. But just the options are great. You can do pick protections and trades. So if you want to trade a draft pick and have it be top 10 protected, top 5, you can do that. I really dig this advanced rotation thing. Now you can determine how many minutes your player plays, but also when those minutes are going to be played. So if I want to have D-Rose play, the first 3 minutes of the first quarter, the last 6 minutes of the second quarter, the middle 4 minutes of the third, and then the last 8 of the fourth. I can do that. You know what I mean? You can set it that way, and that way it allows you to set up different lineups and all of that sort of thing. You're also going to have dynamic uniform updates. So you got new uniforms now. They're going to be added to the game after launch, which is great. Another really cool but subtle thing is jersey retirements. If you kill it with one team, you have a chance to get your jersey retired as long as you have the longevity. So somebody asked a question. They were like, well, what if you play for both teams or 2 different teams and you had a long run? They said that you'll be more apt to have your jersey retired for the team you play with the longest. So I think that was awesome. Another thing that's in there now is off-season trading. Finally, you can do trades in the off-season. You can also have injuries during Summer League and the Summer Circuit, or whatever it's called. I forget what it's called. I think that's live. But Summer League, basically, you can have injuries during that time that will carry over into the regular season. Hot, hot, hot. Now, all that's crazy, right? But what about MyLeague Online? Finally, you can play multiple seasons on MyLeague Online. How many? Up to 80. You get player progression, regression, the custom draft classes, lottery, the off-season drafts. There's a new keeper feature that if you play fantasy sports, then you'll know what I'm talking about with that. The depth is just crazy, right? As far as teams, like I mentioned, you will not be able to put the Olympic teams or anything like that in there, but every other team that's in the game is free reign, and it's pretty hot. Now, last but not least, let's talk about the customization. You can still create your own shoes, all of that, still obviously doing draft classes and rosters, but there are some limitations, and a lot of the things that we wanted, the cap creators like myself and Embrace the Pace and other people, a lot of the stuff that we wanted, we didn't get. There's no new hairstyles. Even though they have some different body types in the game, changing the weight up and down for your creative player does not change the way he physically looks, which I don't dig. I don't like, but that's the way it is. You cannot put tattoos on regular creative players again. You can do it with my player, of course, but not with regular creative players. As far as editing classic players' ages, which is something a lot of us wanted to do, you still can't do that either. The one bone that we were thrown in regards to creative players is that we can finally make guys up to 7'7" tall. So when, I would create George Mearson or Manu Bowl or guys like that, Mark Eaton, and I was capped at 7'2", I couldn't really do it. So now you can actually make a guy 7'7". So that's a good thing. But honestly, like I said, there's not a lot of things that I was disappointed with about NBA 2K17, but the lack of attention to the creative player system is absolutely one of them. So that's all I got for this crazy long video. As a matter of fact, you might not even realize it, but I tried to make this one short as possible. But 2K is a humongous game, guys, and I'm tired as I don't know what. So I tried to keep the energy up while I was talking to you guys. But I appreciate you watching as always. Just remember, hit that subscribe button if you have not. Bang that like button if you have not as well. I appreciate you watching. God bless. Peace.